So, are we going out tonight now?
I don't know. We were. I got an infected eye, I think.
Doesn't look too bad though.
I don't know if you noticed it on camera. My eye feels really droopy. It feels like I have to keep like holding it up. I don't know. It's not going to affect my ability to go out, but it does affect my enthusiasm. So.
Well, the thing is, it's obviously because of the snow and stuff. My parents are on about me coming home, obviously, because I got to go home this weekend.
There's a lot of snow, isn't there?
Yeah, so obviously I got to catch a train home. So I'm not sure if I'm going to catch it tonight or maybe catch it in the morning and go out tonight. But then if I'm catching a hangover, that might be a problem.
Oh, there's nothing worse than getting on a train hangover.
So
Genuinely.
I have a bit of a situation on my
I
hands.
had the same coming back from New Year's. I was in London for New Year's and I had to get a bus, a tube and a train home. And nothing quite like it. Nothing quite like it when you're hungover.
But yeah, so we'll talk about that after and see if we're
plenty of time. It's only it's early. Plenty of time.
We'll be out probably.
Yeah. Well, it has been a while.
It has been a while. Let's start with the podcast.
Yes, let's do it. Welcome back to the Under The Floodlights podcast, episode 7. It's going good.
Yeah,
we say this every week.
Still surprised.
I'm still enjoying it. There isn't very much rugby to talk about this week, so yeah, we get to miss the Six Nations for a little bit. Because
for all you rugby fans, should still watch anyway for us for a view, please.
Yeah, well, yeah, it'd be nice if you like the content, then sure hit the subscribe button and the like button and all that jazz. It helps us out a lot. It genuinely does. If you like one subscriber makes our day. So
if any of you can do that, it'd be much appreciated.
I know YouTubers all set all the time, but we literally have nothing at the moment. So one is massive. So a lot of our talk today is football based. There's a bit of boxing, a bit of Formula 1, and a nice little change of pace there. So this podcast should be coming out on Monday-ish.
I think it's going to be out on Monday.
Somewhere around there, yeah. Hopefully you enjoy it. Quick word to Marcus, as per usual. Big hand to him for all that he does. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, episode 6 is actually going to be out today, so
yeah, it should be. Yeah.
It's not today for them. It's going to be today for us, but
yeah, you should be able to go back and watch it and enjoy it anyway. It's good. We enjoyed it.
So yeah, I think we should just get on with it. I think kick on to the football.
Yeah. So like I said, we've got quite a lot of football to talk about today. The first one I think is probably the biggest news as far as continental football goes, and that's Neymar's injury. So if you didn't already know, Neymar has broken his metatarsal and he sprained his ankle in PSG's League One game last week. I can't remember who it was against. But it looks like he'll be out for 6 to 8 weeks. He'll avoid surgery, so he won't be out for the rest of the season, like initially feared, but he will miss the second leg of PSG versus Real Madrid in the Champions League. Big loss.
It is a big loss, especially if they wanted to get back into the tie. Obviously, a 3-1 down from the first leg. But I've never really been as big a fan of Neymar as others. I've always found him quite overrated.
Okay.
And when people always say, look what he's doing this season, it's the French league at the end of the day. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like most half decent players could do something in the French league.
It's an easier league to compete in than, say, the Bundesliga or the Premier League.
Look how many French players succeed in the French league and then come to the Premier League and fail. Mm-hmm. So I can't really judge on that.
You can name quite a few.
He is a good player, don't get me wrong. I just don't think he's as good as everyone makes out. But it's a big miss for PSG. He's obviously probably, along with Cavani, the best player. So it's going to be a big miss, especially if I want to get back into the tie. But I don't see it happening. I think the Champions League run is over for them this season. I
personally think he's one of the best. I really rate him. I do. I like watching him play. He just has everything. And yeah, it's a big shame because even if, you know, it does look like Real Madrid are going to go through 3-1. So that's a nice advantage to have going into the second leg. But you still want it to be competitive, and the fact that they're missing one of their best players does make it a little bit weaker, doesn't it?
I don't think they'll miss him much in the league. I think they'll still win
in the league. You'd still expect them to go on and do. But it's just the Champions League issue. But then he's going to come back before the end of the season anyway, hopefully. So he'll get games.
Exactly. It's going to be a hard task through and down with him. So without him, obviously, it's even bigger for PSG.
The big issue for him, I suppose, is the World Cup's obviously coming around.
Yeah.
And this doesn't rule him out for the World Cup. But if anything was to continue, if he didn't recover properly or he rushed himself back and then ended up flaring something up, you never know. So I suppose his priority now should be, let's try and get fit, because that's number one priority, making sure he leads Brazil at the World Cup.
It is his first season in France. But do you think he might actually leave at the end of the season? With his talk of him going back to Barcelona, back to Real Madrid, I should say.
I think it's such a big move. It was over 200 million, wasn't it? Or was it 198 million?
Something like that.
That's such a big move. I mean, I never would have expected anyone to have left for over 100 million, 6 months ago, and we now have multiple players, 4 or 5 players that have done so. So my expectations are broken all the time. But I think so soon after just making a big move, it'd be amazing if he did it again. I don't think he'll be at PSG very long because, like I said, the league it's not very prestigious. I mean, it's one of the top 5 European leagues, but it's not really up there with the likes of the Bundesliga and La Liga and Premier League. I don't know where he'd go next, but obviously there are very few clubs that can afford to pay for his transfer fee. But I'd expect to see him lining up for PSG next season.
I agree. I think he will still be.
I think he likes the fact that at Barcelona he was very much Messi's understudy. If he went to Real Madrid, he would be Cristiano Ronaldo's understudy. At PSG, he is.
That's what I was just
boss.
about to say. He's the main man. I think that's the reason he moved in the first place. But I don't see him. I think he will be there next season, but I don't see him staying there for a long time.
No. Yeah,
I feel he'll probably move back to Spain, maybe to even Real Madrid, or even back to Barca. I never know in the Premier League. Obviously, Guardiola.
You never know people at Man City. Yeah.
Exactly, or even Man United. You never know. But I feel his injuries, like we said, is a big loss to PSG, and hopefully for himself and Brazil, he'll recover in time for the World Cup.
Hopefully for us as well as neutrals, it's still an entertaining game. Like you said, they've still got players like Edinson Cavani. They've still got talent. But hopefully it's still an entertaining game.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much what to cover with that.
Yeah, it's a nice short story, isn't it? Really.
On to more Premier League based.
Premier League based, yes.
Arsenal obviously were terrible in the League Cup on Sunday.
If you're an Arsenal fan, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, we're probably gonna have a little bit of a rant on them, but you might agree with us. If you do, just let us know. If you don't, let us know as well down in the comment section. But yeah, what did you feel about the game Sunday?
They were dreadful, weren't they? They were absolutely abysmal. I think if you go into a cup final, no matter who you're playing, no matter whether you're not really that bothered about the League Cup, you prefer the FA Cup or the Premier League, you're in a cup final, you're going to give everything you've got. And that's tactically, it's the personnel, the individual players have to really, really try for the team. They have to prove why not only they deserve to be at the club, but why they deserve to start in a League Cup. Because there are countless players that would love to win that. And for me, Mesut Ozil epitomises Arsenal at the moment. He doesn't look bothered. He kind of just strolls around. And whenever he gets criticised, he likes to hit back with, "You don't understand. We're footballers. We try hard every week, and you just don't see it." But it doesn't. No, I'm not having it. I'm not having it because he doesn't look bothered at all. He looks like he's happy to pick up a paycheck. And that bothers me. And I'm not even an Arsenal fan. I couldn't care less who won the final. But it bothers me when you see players like that who pick up these massive paychecks, who are adored by fans and who genuinely don't care. And I'm not a massive fan of Arsenal fan TV, but you can see on there the amount of fans that are just absolutely outraged that they got to a cup final and they've basically thrown it away for no reason. And you think it's just ridiculous. It's embarrassing.
I think what sums it up was Gary Neville's rant, actually, when he was commentating on the game, and he was saying how embarrassing it was watching players.
Mustafi's defending for the first goal.
Horrible defending. And then you have someone like Jack Wilshere coming out and trying to defend it, saying the first goal was a foul, second goal was offside. Mate, you were terrible. But yeah, I thought Gary Neville nailed it on the head. It was embarrassing, especially when you see players walking back to take kick-off when you're 2-0 or 3-0 down in a cup final. It's embarrassing. You want your players to give 100%. Doesn't matter what the score is. In a cup final, you expect everything from your team. And you can see, like you said, Arsenal fan TV, all the fans on it, you can see why they're so irate. Because when you see the players not giving 100% for the badge in the club, it's going to affect it. If that happened to Everton, you'd be the same. If it happened to United, I'd be the same.
Raging, yeah.
So it's disappointing for Arsenal fans. And I think, well, it's probably 3 years too late, but I think it's time Wenger does leave in the summer.
Oh, he has to go. For me, there's no debate. For the last 2-3 years, like you said, every year you're thinking, surely he's going to go now. Things are getting worse and worse. His reputation's going down the pan. He's being criticised every week. He has to go, and then he signs a new 2-year deal, a new 1-year extension, and it's ridiculous. At some point, you have to look towards the future. And I think with Stan Kroenke, I can't remember the other guy's name, at Arsenal's board, you're holding the club back.
Evan Gazidis, is that right?
Yeah, it might be him. There was one that was going to go that was linked with Everton. I can't remember his name either. Usmanov.
Oh yeah, the big Russian billionaire.
But all of them, they all have these massive stakes in Arsenal. And by continually keeping Wenger on, I'm not sure if it's them that are doing it, or if it's the chairman that's keeping him on. I'm not sure whose role that is, but whoever it is who keeps Wenger on because of sentimentality and he was good for us back in the day and he's such a legend at the club. Yeah, that's all well and good. But if you're suffering your long-term prospects, you're sacrificing things that you don't want to sacrifice, you need to look to the future. There are so many good young managers out there. And they're basically just choosing to stick with the past, and that's just it's so negative for the fans, because all they want to do is see the club win silverware. And if you keep giving Wenger time because he did do well in the past, that's not going to win you silverware.
Well, Arsenal are obviously a huge, massive club, but at the moment it seems like they've got a small club mentality.
Yeah,
with the way they play it and the people the way they're trying to play, keeping Arsene Wenger as manager has just been horrendous for the last 2 or 3 years. When he had obviously a good start at Arsenal, he had a good tenure, but obviously his reputation is getting tarnished now with all the, I would say successes, but there's no success in the last few years other than the FA Cup wins. They're not even making Champions League anymore, so he hasn't even got that in his locker to say we got Champions League football. So it's just getting worse and worse, and I feel he should have left when he won the FA Cup. Obviously,
that would make more sense because it would have been on a high at least.
Exactly, and you could have went away and been an Arsenal legend, but the more he carries on and the more rubbish they become, which seems to be happening, the more his reputation is going to get tarnished.
Certainly is, yeah.
So if I was him now, I think I'd cut my ties in the summer. But if I was Arsenal, I'd cut my ties in the summer. Contract? No, he signed a 2-year deal, didn't he? So he's still got another year.
Oh, yeah.
So,
if the issue is as well, is Arsenal really, because of his history, you don't want to sack him.
No.
Because it would just be a big shame.
But
you want, basically Arsenal want him to leave, or they want to have to come up with a mutual agreement to end ties early. They don't want to sack him.
Would you see Manchester United, Chelsea, Man City keep the same manager after all these failures year after year, the recent years? Would they have got this long? No chance. No chance.
Yeah, you're spot on.
Chelsea get manager sacked.
Carlo Ancelotti sacked, and he comes, was it second? You have to be ruthless.
Exactly, and I wouldn't be as ruthless to say Chelsea are, but you've got to give managers a chance. But
even people like Manuel Pellegrini didn't do a poor job. They thought, well, that's great, but we know we can do better, so we'll move you on.
Exactly, and that's the mentality. It's a big club mentality, and that's the mentality that Arsenal need to revive. But other than that, if I was the club and if I was the manager himself, I'd cut ties in the summer, move on. In future, people look back and maybe see him as last legend, or you never know. And obviously, they can look for a new manager.
What do you make of the names that have been linked with the club there? At the moment, the two key names that I saw are Leonardo Jardim from Monaco, and Mikel Arteta, obviously former Arsenal player, now is a coach under Guardiola at Man City. What do you make of those two names that have been linked?
I wouldn't go with Mikel Arteta at the moment. Obviously, not enough experience for me, especially for a big club like that.
It's a big move for his first job.
Exactly, and if he fails, obviously it's quite a big act to follow in Arsene Wenger. Obviously, you can't get much worse in the last recent years, Arsenal fans seem to say, but it can. It obviously can get very much worse than what they get. But yeah, I think Arteta is too soon for him. Jardim on the other hand, I think could be a good appointment. He's done well at Monaco in recent seasons. They won the league. Oh, did they win the league last year? I think they might have won the league last year or year before. Got to Champions League.
Was last year, yeah.
Yeah, won it last year. Got to Champions League semi-final. Obviously, they lost a lot of their players, and he's still doing a decent job this year. They're not obviously.
Well, he's replaced well as well. He's made good signings.
So I think he's got a good balancing act between knowing the club and knowing how to play and being able to. Well, good at just getting players into the club that when you've lost them. I think it'll be a good target for Arsenal to take in. I don't know what you think about it.
Yeah, like you said, Jardim is a manager who's done a good job, and I'm not totally knowledgeable about what else he's done other than Monaco, but I think he would be someone who could work with the club well. There's also other people like Diego Simeone's been linked before. The issue with him is obviously he's just signed a new deal with Atletico, but that's someone who might be tempted with the Premier League. And also Luis Enrique, who's a free agent at the moment. He's heavily linked with Chelsea, but another one. But I agree with you with Mikel Arteta. Before we gave Sam Allardyce the job, there were calls for Mikel Arteta and Tim Cahill to become the joint managers of Everton and lead us into the next era and whatnot. And yes, Arteta is my second favourite player of all time, Cahill being the first. It's great to go, right, great move, nostalgia-wise. They were good mates on the pitch. It would work. I think you have to be realistic and know that with the limited experience he has, he's not going to be a excellent manager first time, or he could be, but it's a big risk. And I think if Everton can't make that risk, Arsenal certainly can't, because at the moment they're clinging on to the top 6, or clinging on to the top 4, should I say. They're in the top 6, but they need to get back into that top 4, and a gamble is not how you're going to get there. You need to have someone who you know will get you back in that top 4 and make you compete for the Premier League again.
Another outside bet who's also a free agent, as you said, same as Luis Enrique, is Thomas Tuchel.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Obviously left Dortmund.
Didn't think about that one.
I think he could be a good.
He was linked before as well.
He's been linked before, exactly. So I think he could be a good appointment if they can bring him in. There's a few different options, and with a squad they do have.
The manager who I want for Everton, Paulo Fonseca, will be a free agent in the summer as well. Contract. He doesn't look like he's going to sign a new contract with Shakhtar Donetsk, so that would be another option for Arsenal. He's young and talented.
But again, he might be a little bit too experienced for them. Obviously, he's done well. He's got
a lot of experience. The only issue there is the step
Premier
up from the Ukrainian Premier League to the English Premier League. But then it has worked for other clubs before. The likes of Marco Silva come in from a league probably not as prestigious as the Premier League. Whether Arsenal can make that gamble or not is the question.
Whereas I think a lot of Arsenal fans would appreciate to see them attempt to at least get a big name in. Yeah, show ambition. So someone like Thomas Tuchel is probably the best bet because, like I said, he's a free agent. He's been linked before. It's probably the type of club he'd like to go to. He's got a decent. They have got a decent squad. Arsenal. They are underachieving a little bit. The defence obviously is struggling. Midfield probably does need strengthening. And the attack, if you look at it, you've got Lacazette, you've got Aubameyang, you've got Ozil, you've got Mkhitaryan. Just those 4 players are obviously just either world class or
they've got the talent,
world class.
And they've certainly got the money behind them to go and
exactly.
Make
so that's what they need. They need a manager to come in, and they need the board to back the new manager as well. Obviously, 'cause in recent seasons and years, they haven't shown enough support to Arsene Wenger in the transfer market. And I feel if they do that with a new manager, someone like maybe Jardim, someone like Thomas Tuchel, Luis Enrique, whoever they do decide to bring
someone is going to want to come in and they're going to want to make their stamp on the team.
Exactly.
And that's going to need. They're going to need money to do that.
And if they can support them, then you can see Arsenal pretty soon back in the top 4 and maybe competing for titles again. But that's what they need to do.
Yeah, definitely. One story we haven't written down, I want to just touch on it quickly when you mentioned ambition. I saw yesterday that Atletico Madrid have sold wing duo Nicolas Gaitan and Yannick Carrasco to China. What are you making of these big players moving to China?
It's just a lack of ambition. It's pretty much, he's 24 years of age, Yannick Carrasco, and he's pretty much ended his career.
He's one of the most talented wingers in Europe.
He scored in the Champions League final 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Champions League final, and then now look, he's going to China. Lack of ambition. His career's pretty much over with. He's going for money. Nick Gaitan has been linked with Manchester United multiple times. I mean, obviously, he never actually joined, but it's just lack of ambition from both players.
I'm glad you agree because it's frustrating me, I think, when you have players that are maybe getting onto the latter stages of their career or they haven't really featured in these big leagues. For instance, someone like Hulk, maybe not the best move for his career, but he's played in Russia. He hasn't really played anywhere else. It's not that big a difference from Russia, in my opinion, but I think when you have someone like Carrasco, who is in the Belgium squad all the time, is a key player for Atletico Madrid in a good league, in the Champions League as well. At 24 years old, you've got your whole career ahead of you, you're throwing it away. And his excuse is China's looking a lot more stronger as a league. It's developing year on year. Not for me. I can't. To me, it's the same as if Carrasco was to go to the Brazilian Premier League or the MLS now. Why?
Exactly. Why would if it's someone, like I said, older and going for their last paycheck,
I don't mind as much because he's 30. He probably does have a couple more years left in him at a top club, but it's not as bad. But Carrasco, for me specifically, I just don't understand it at all.
If you're older and looking for the last paycheck, you can't blame him. Same with rugby. Rugby players older, like Jerome Kaino, just recently. I know we weren't going to say about rugby, but it's kind of relevant. Jerome Kaino retired from New Zealand rugby yesterday, international rugby. But he's moving to France. He's moving to France next season. Obviously, he's 34 years of age. He's looking for that final paycheck to support him and his family. You cannot blame players.
It's even like Johnny Wilkinson.
Yeah, when he moved to Toulon, you can't blame players who are looking to go, support their family and get that last a higher paycheck. I mean,
it's the same with
it's the end of their career.
It's the same with the MLS or the Australian League. They can pay an awful lot of money to go and play in this new exotic place, and it's just a bit different. I get that, but when you're 24, it's just,
especially when you're someone with the potential Yannick Carrasco has.
So much potential, yeah. That was all. We were talking about Monaco and ambition, and I thought interesting little story.
Let's go back to the manager topic then next. I think.
So we did mention Luis Enrique is being heavily linked with Chelsea. Obviously, that would mean they'd have to get rid of their current manager at the moment, and that could well happen. Alessandro Costacurta, I can't remember what his job title is, but a man who's high up at the Italian FA has said that Antonio Conte is their top man for the job, the Italy job. Obviously, they sacked Gianpiero Ventura when they failed to qualify for the World Cup. Was it the World Cup?
Yes.
Yeah, World Cup, yeah. So, do you reckon that could be a goer? And if it is, who would you think, Chelsea, would be best suited to approach?
Conte's obviously managed Italy before. I don't see why you want to go back there, because he's good enough at club level. It'd be disappointing to see Conte leave. I don't think he deserves to be sacked from Chelsea. He obviously won the league last season. He's not done too bad. They're not been as good. They're not been too bad. They obviously put a good show against Barcelona last week, or 2 weeks ago, I should say. And
they're certainly still in the Champions League hunt.
Yeah, exactly. If you went for a silly mistake, they would have beat Barcelona on 1-0, and obviously they had a good.
Oh, I forgot about that.
And they could have,
poor.
they could have went to the new camp with a good opportunity, and they still do. But I think he's got a lot to offer the club game. So if I was Conte, I wouldn't look. I know it's his own country, but I wouldn't look up going back to the Italian national team. Obviously, he might have no choice with Abramovich and his firing policy.
He doesn't have much patience, does he?
So it doesn't look good for him. I think he could be gone in the summer, which would be a shame.
Who would you have come in then at Chelsea?
If you want to, as we've mentioned, ambition in this podcast, Luis Enrique would be good ambition shown by Chelsea. Other than him, similar names to the one who've been at Arsenal. Thomas Tuchel's another one, good manager. It's just this.
I mean, it's a bit of a big jump for him to Tuchel. I'm not sure.
I don't think it is, because he's done quite well at Dortmund. Obviously, he's looking for that big club move, and he's talented. So I think it's a job opportunity that could be fine for him. But I think it suits someone like Luis Enrique a bit more. I think that'd be the perfect fit, Luis Enrique and Chelsea. Or if not, they could try and go for Diego Simeone.
The only issue I have with Luis Enrique is I very much get the idea that he kind of wants to build something.
And Chelsea doesn't give time.
Chelsea don't let you do that.
Yeah.
I mean, when Mourinho came back, whatever season it was, not that long ago, for all intents and purposes, it looked like he was going to build this new dynasty that he had done several years back, and obviously won the title convincingly, really well. Everything looked great, and then several months later, he's gone. So
that's
you don't get time at Chelsea. And I might be wrong, but from what I've seen of Enrique, I always thought he looked like the kind of bloke who would like to build something like he did at Barcelona.
It's tough. It's going to be a tough choice for Chelsea, who they want to approach, and then the manager who does get approached if he wants to go there, because he needs, like I said, if Luis Enrique does need time, wants to build something.
I think you need assurances of what
exactly
you'll be unless I think you need to be assured that unless things do disastrously go wrong, you're not going to be hastily moved on. But I disagree with you on Conte though. Conte, yeah. I think it would be a good move going back to Italy for him, because I think that's what he likes. He comes across as the kind of bloke who doesn't like the media fanfare of the everyday club manager. He's become increasingly frustrated with the way the press handle themselves in this country, which is something an awful lot of managers have. It's the way the English press works, unfortunately. So it wouldn't surprise me to see him leave, even though I don't think he deserves to leave, because he has shown before that he has, the ability to really perform in this league. But other than the Italy job, I don't know where else he goes. Obviously, Juventus are happy with Massimiliano Allegri. Inter Milan, AC Milan, I'm not sure they're big enough jobs anymore. Maybe Roma or Napoli. I don't know. Sarri's fine at Napoli.
Or even outside bet Arsenal. You never know.
Yeah, well, that's something that was thrown around there for a little while, but
so you never know.
For me, it would make more sense going to Italy because he enjoyed it, and obviously Italy now are in a difficult position where they should never have failed to qualify for the World Cup, and they did. So maybe he'll see that. Excuse me, sorry. Maybe he'll see that as a rebuilding job where he thinks, well, Italy now are in a bad state. They didn't qualify the World Cup. How has that ever happened? Right, I'm going to set it upon myself for the next 4 years, or at least the next year or two, to build us up to a point where we will definitely qualify for the next World Cup. Because at the end of the day, if you're a patriot and you're Italian, you want to see your team at the World Cup, and it's amazing that they're not there. So he might think, I can do that, I can fix it.
It does make sense. I'm not saying it doesn't, but I think he has a lot more to offer the club game. He's not.
I think he does.
He's a young manager, obviously very talented, very good, I think he does.
I always forget how young he is because he doesn't look young.
No,
He's got an old face.
Yeah, so I think he does it. I just think he has a lot to offer the club game. I think he should stay in the club game. I'm not sure where. I'm not sure who he can go to. There'll be offers out there for him. He's a good manager.
Also, he's got a lot of character. And they're always nice to have in this league because it makes it entertaining. You know, with his war of words he's had with Jose Mourinho, and even away from Jose Mourinho, the way he's approached the press at times has been entertaining. So it's a shame to lose a character like that when you're having so many managers now that are just dull.
Yeah, there's a few of those, but it is what it is. But I think he should stay. Well, if you can, and if you can't, then find another club.
What do you make of this? Of these talks to change the English transfer? Not transfer, sorry. To introduce a winter break in the.
I might be a bit cynical on this, but I think it shouldn't happen because you get paid to play football. So why are players moaning to play football when they're getting paid to do so?
Well, just a little bit of context. Obviously, the Premier League is one of the few leagues amongst the top elite leagues in Europe that don't have a winter break. An awful lot miss a couple of weeks in January. We don't. We have a very, very busy schedule between December and February. The talks, which are ongoing at the moment between the FA, Premier League and the Football League, are proposing that we have a winter break in February.
2 weeks.
It would start, about 2 weeks. 16 days, they reckon, would be the total amount of time we'd go without a game. It would start, if it went through, on for the 2019-2020 season. It would also change the FA Cup. The 5th round would be played midweek, and also there would be no more replays because of time, which has an issue for, I suppose, lower league clubs who make an awful lot of money out of replays, but then top clubs aren't really that fussed about replays anyway.
I think scrapping replays is a good idea. I think it's pointless. If a lower club's better chances,
are you thinking that because you're a Man United fan?
No, I'm thinking that as just a football fan in general.
Because I agree, I don't want to see Everton play a replay. But if you're, for instance, we have a friend who's a big Plymouth fan, and he got to see them play at Anfield, and that's something that's invaluable that you can't. If you take away the replays, you take away that ability to go and see a team.
But normally, I think with lower teams, the best.
I know that was the first.
The best chance they have to beat, say, a big team is in the first game, because obviously if they draw it, that was a good opportunity. They could go to penalties and they win. I think that'll just be better for all clubs. Because I think more than likely, say Plymouth and Liverpool, for example, they draw 1-1, say at Plymouth's ground, then they go to Anfield. What's more than likely than Liverpool are gonna put 3 or 4 on them and win?
True, it's a bad example.
It gives them a better chance.
It's a bad example because I think they were at Anfield first. But the point is, let's say they weren't. They were at Home Park. You're not going to get to see your team play against Liverpool very often. You know, realistically, once you've drawn Liverpool, you're not going to get to the next round. If you do, great. If you don't, it's not a big surprise. But you'd love to go up to Anfield and see that.
The best chance. The best chance is the first game. If the actual draw itself is the best chance you're going to get to win. Because if you say you draw that game, would have been your best chance to go to penalties. You're more likely to win on penalties than you want to go to Anfield. No,
what I'm saying is they might not be that. As a club, they're not always that fussed about going through because they know they're not going to. Are Plymouth going to win the FA Cup? No. Are they going to get good games out of it and entertain their fans out of it? And also, if they do go to Liverpool, they make an awful lot of money in the replay when they come back to Home Park. They're going to make massive money with a team at Liverpool turning up at Plymouth. The ground's going to be sold out, and you'll get that with a lot of league clubs that will make an awful lot of money off of those games. And I know it's just I'm playing devil's advocate because you need to think about the different sides, but I think it's something that's interesting because for me I wouldn't care less if we got rid of it from a selfish point of view because I don't want Everton to play any more games than we need to. I'd rather us get it done with then, win on penalties. If we don't win, that sucks. Move on. I don't need an extra game clogging up our fixture schedule. But it's a completely different ball game when you're a lower league club who makes an awful lot of money on those kind of fixtures.
Well, like you said, they don't think they're going to win it. It's more than likely they're not. But for example, you always have those ones now and again who do. Wigan, FA Cup. Bradford got to the final and Swansea obviously won it a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
You never know. So I think you always got to back yourself.
True.
Wherever the situation. I think scrapping replays would be the best thing. Like you say, don't need extra fixtures clogging up the schedule. Gives more players time to rest.
The benefit would be is that you'll occasionally get a team who are doing reasonably well in the cup, but they're struggling against say, a relegation battle. They don't need the added fixtures then, because I think you're right. Well, at the moment, our squad's stretched anyway. We're looking in a tough position in the league. We need to really kind of get the cup out of the way. So then it helps, I suppose.
So but that's for me. I think I'd scrap replays. But winter break wise, I wouldn't have a winter break either. I think players get paid enough to play games.
I wouldn't harp on about the amount of time players are played, the amount of money players are paid, because it's more the clubs that are money, not the players. The fact that that amount of action in such a short amount of time, it creates injuries because the bodies are strained. Because at the moment, the way football works at the moment, they're ultra fit. Anything goes wrong, it makes more of an impact than it should do. I think the issue really is do you want it? Because for me, I love knowing that there's so much football on over the winter period, and historically we've never had it. We've never needed it, and I think the argument is, with the Champions League and the Europa League, obviously continental success is something that the FA want to improve, so that we are seen as a better footballing nation. Maybe the congested fixtures around that winter period mean that we suffer on the continental stage.
You say that?
I don't know if that's something I believe in, because we won the Champions League multiple times. Man United, Chelsea, Liverpool, and none of those years we've had to have a winter break. For me, it's just something that's unnecessary.
I agree. I think it's unnecessary to have the winter break. Plus, if you do scrap replays, that helps anyway, because you skip. You get more rest between games anyway. So I think it helps both ways. But for me,
it'll certainly be interesting to see what they do with it, whether they go ahead with it or not.
I think it probably will go through, because I think the clubs will all probably agree to do it. But for me, it's just something I wouldn't enjoy happening to the Premier League.
Yeah, I
think
agree.
The fixture list during December and January is something every football fan in the country enjoys. Especially when you're home over Christmas, when if you've got a week off from work, 2 weeks off from work, and you can just sit down and watch football with your family, or your son or your dad or whatever. Yeah. It's something that I think every football fan around here loves. So I think it's just be a dreadful decision to do it, but I can see it going through, to be honest.
Before we do the next one, just gonna skip ahead to the one after that. It's a lot shorter. Would it get that one out of the way first? I just wanted to have there's a positive Everton story. It's great.
Well, depends how you look at it.
The story is positive. Nothing might not come out of it, but at the moment it looks positive. So
it's positive because you don't want Sam Allardyce at your club.
Yeah, exactly. So the Daily Star reported late last night that exclusively that Roberto Martinez. What is happening? Our owner Farhad Moshiri is losing his patience with Sam Allardyce. He wants a young, dynamic manager to take charge in the summer, because he doesn't think Allardyce is the man to lead this new era at the club, and he is spot on. Well done, Moshiri. Well done. I would fully support that. And his targets at the moment, he's got a 4-man shortlist of Marco Silva, who is most likely, but also at the same time he's not entirely convinced because of the way he acted towards the end of his Watford time. Moshiri is a little bit apprehensive there. Paulo Fonseca from Shakhtar Donetsk, he's a free agent in the summer. He's refusing to sign a new deal with the club. He also wanted to come to Everton before we appointed Sam Allardyce, but Shakhtar would not let us speak to him. And the other two, which are absolutely insanely, ludicrously ambitious, Luis Enrique and Diego Simeone. Now, the main point is, I've already tweeted, I tweeted last night that you can imagine how good it would be for those two to come in. You can only imagine, because it will never happen. Yeah. But it's great. I'm just really happy, and I want to touch on it, that it's just such a nice thing to have an owner now who's so ambitious. We've struggled so long with Bill Kenwright as our owner, when we had David Moyes in charge, and even when we had Roberto Martinez in charge. He just couldn't pull the trigger. He didn't make the necessary decisions, because he very much became friends with his manager. David Moyes is very close to Bill Kenwright even now. Roberto Martinez really got on with him, and Kenwright can never say enough positive things about him. And it's nice to have, not a ruthless owner, but it's nice to have an owner who understands that business is business. And if you're not getting the job done, then you're not moving his project forward. You need to move on, and it's really positive, because obviously he was owner for about 2 weeks before he sacked Roberto Martinez. Ronald Koeman, he didn't give any extra time, and it's positive in that sense. And I'm just really happy that we're having exciting names linked. that hopefully would get the club back on track next summer. And you know, the sooner we see the back of Allardyce, the better. His press conference this week just drives me up the wall. He drives me up the wall every week, and I cannot wait for Mashiri to pull that trigger.
I guess we'll see what situation we're in this time next year, and then hopefully have another rant off Cuff by Everton.
God, I mean, we're not touching on the Watford game, obviously, because that was just a train wreck of a day.
You actually, at least you were in the programme for that, though.
Yeah, well, I hope so. I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, well, apparently you're in the programme for that.
It's meant to be posted to me. I answered questions. Someone asked me questions for a programme, so I answered the questions. I'm not sure whether they made the programme, but we shall see. Hopefully,
we'll find out soon. Hopefully,
I'm looking forward to finding out. But
on to our final football discussion, I should say.
Just a bit of a fun one, this.
Yeah, Lukaku came out this week, tweeted saying, obviously basketball and American football have an all-star game at the end of each season where they have the best players from, say, the different conferences of that season play each other. And his idea was to have the best players from the North, 10 teams in the North Premier League, and 10 teams from the South of the Premier League. From West Brom up would count as North. And then
as an all-star game. Yeah, well, he didn't include that as the northern side, but if you're going to... If you were going to try and figure out how to do it, West Brom would be the cut-off line, even though they are not northern at all. If you were to use West Brom and above, you would have 10 teams, and then you'd have 10 below.
So we decided to make it a little bit of fun, create our own North and South teams from this season who we'd play. And I think it's a good idea. I'm not sure what you think about it, but I think it'll be a good idea.
At the beginning, I thought it was just cheesy Americanization. Then I thought I'd watch it.
Exactly.
I'd enjoy it. I'd look forward to it.
It'd be an enjoyable experience.
As a Southerner, it would be nice to cheer against Everton for once. All I care about at the moment is Everton. It would be nice to change the way I think about things, because obviously I'd support, if it's North v South, I'd support the South. Bit different.
I think it'll just be like you said, a bit different, a bit of rivalry between North and South. Yeah, it's just had something.
It's different than having to cheer on your individual players. I'm not going to go. Well, I mean, Everton players won't get them team anyway, but I'm not going to be like, come on, Lukaku.
It just adds a different element to the end of the season. It'll be a bit of fun before we go into the summer break. I think it's just something that I think they should look at. Because most American sports do it. It's just something I think the Premier League should add.
Quite good, yeah.
Should we go into our teams?
Yeah, we'll just walk through it. Obviously, for the North, it's heavily Man United, Manchester City, Liverpool. For the South, it's heavily Tottenham, Arsenal, Chelsea. But as is the nature, they are the top 6 clubs. You're bound to get the majority of players.
I don't think we have any Arsenal players in our teams, though, do we?
No. Sorry, Arsenal fans.
Yeah, sorry. Obviously, we ranted about you earlier, and now we know in our teams.
Yeah, Arsenal aren't quite good enough, I'm afraid. So yeah, well, we'll both go through our northern sides then. So. Yeah. We agree with the goalkeeper.
Agree with David De Gea. Easy choice, best in the world for me. I think
he's not the best in the world for me, but he's certainly the best in the Premier League at the moment.
So I feel that's an easy choice. It was an easy choice for it. It was no debate there.
Actually, I don't know. I don't really know who I think the best keeper in the world is anymore. Changes on a week-to-week basis, but David De Gea has made a big improvement in recent weeks. So yeah. Recent months, recent years.
I think we agreed on the right back as well, and Antonio Valencia. We both think he's been consistent for Man United for years. Been really good this season.
I criticised him quite a lot to you, saying that he was just a winger who was being forced out of position, but he really has made that right back position his own. And I would imagine he'll be in the he'll be in the team of the year this season. I would imagine.
We do miss him when he's not there. This is where we do disagree though on the centre back pair, and we both agree Vincent Kompany should be there, but we have a disagreement on the other position. I've gone with...
Bias?
It's not bias. Well, it depends, because obviously I'm contradicting myself a little bit, because another parts of my team have gone from basically on this season, and this player I picked has missed a lot of this season, Eric Bailly, but I feel he's just too good to just miss out. I think he's in the top 3 centre-backs in the Premier League. He's so quick, powerful. I think he's a very I think he's just pure
top
quality.
3?
Yeah, him, Alderweireld, and
give over, man.
He's up. I think he's quality, pace, power, everything you want in a centre back he's got, and I think he'd be my team.
And I've gone with Ashley Williams. I haven't gone with Ashley Williams.
Your credibility be down the drain if you remember
God, I can't stand Ashley Williams. I've gone with Nico Otamendi.
He was close. He was close.
I mean, for me, he was a laughing stock for the last 2 years because he just didn't adapt to the Premier League at all. He was a pace behind. I mean, when we played them last season in the 4-0 win, I can't remember if that was the game he played in or if it was the other leg. He was all over the place. He was just fouling players to try and get a foot in the game. He was all over the place. He was a step behind everyone. And he's made such an improvement under Guardiola this season. He really is one of the better centre-backs in the league this season. I think he just does everything. He's got all of it about him. Well, he was fantastic in Spain, and he's now
rediscovering his form.
No, yeah, in a way. I'm going to say, like, replicating his form in Spain to what it is now in England. I think, for me, he edges Bailey, mainly because he hasn't been fit all season long. He's had struggles with his fitness, but he is obviously a top centre-back.
Another disagreement was the left-back. We've both gone a little bit controversial.
So my left-back is not a left-back because I don't think the Northern Hemisphere the Northern side has many options at left back. You obviously have Andrew Robertson from Liverpool, you have Ashley Young from Man United, and you have Fabian Delph from Man City because Benjamin Mendy's been out all season. None of them really cut the cloth for me, so I've gone with Kyle Walker. He's been fantastic for Man City this season. I think he'd be unfortunate to miss out on the Team of the Year. I do think Valencia will get it, but Kyle Walker will be unfortunate to miss out. He has been really good. And I criticised his move to Man City quite a lot. 50 million for probably the second best right back at Tottenham was ludicrous, but he has come on leaps and bounds this season. So for me, he would come in at left back, just because he needs to be in the team when there aren't better options.
Because I was stuck between two players. Ashley Young's probably been the most consistent left back up in the Northern teams this season for us. He's won us a couple of games with his goals as well, so he's been excellent for us this season. Then the other option is, because I've been really impressed, is Andrew Robertson since he came into the Liverpool team. He didn't really make the team since when he signed at the start, but he's starting to come into it now and making that position his own, and I've been really impressed with him. So he's someone I think I'd look at if you can. It depends if you want to go for the whole season, consistency in Ashley Young, or the qualities Andrew Robertson's bring to the Liverpool team since he started getting a run of games.
So I don't know what formation you had in mind, but for me, I went 4-3-3 both times. I think it's just easiest.
I went 4-3-3 for the north and 4-2-3-1 with the south. Mix it up a little bit.
So for my midfield trio, I said that weird. I went really offensively.
I think we got the same three.
The beauty with
Pogba, Silva, De Bruyne.
Yeah, the beauty with All Stars is it doesn't have to be what you'd expect an ordinary Premier League game to be. It can just be, let's chuck in the best team we got. So for me, it's Paul Pogba, who has been a little bit inconsistent as of the last couple of weeks, but for the most part of the season, he's been really good. He's been so influential for Man United that they visually miss him every single time he's not on the pitch. David Silva is a key component for Man City. He is irreplaceable, and he does his job so well. Since he shaved his head, he's improved.
Looks like a young Stephen Ireland.
Yeah, since he shaved his head, he's improved even more, and that's something I didn't think would happen. And then the best player in the Premier League, Kevin De Bruyne.
100%. No qualms about that.
No debate.
Yeah, like I said, we would have considered, if we were looking to obviously just try and win the game and be a bit more serious, if we were going for Premier League, it'd be Fernandinho or Matic. One of those two would be in it. But like I said, it's all about fun in the All-Star game and trying watching the best players play, and I think those three would do that.
And then up front, we're similar. There's a one disagreement. We've both gone for Sergio Aguero
up front
because he is the best striker in out of the three top clubs and whatnot. We've both gone for
Mohamed Salah,
obviously
an amazing season.
21 Premier League goals this season, fantastic. We've disagreed on who we would play on the left.
Yeah, which is actually the way we've gone with it. You would have thought it'd be the other way around, because the player you've picked is a Manchester United player.
Well, at the same time, I hate the guy who plays that wide for the Liverpool connection.
Yeah, so yeah, but when you picked, you'd expect me to pick, but you decided to go with Alexis Sanchez, whereas I have gone with Raheem Sterling. Mm-hmm. I've gone with Raheem Sterling because this season he's been exceptional. He's come on leaps and bounds since Guardiola.
Marcus chuckling in the booth from there.
Since Guardiola took over, and he shows that with his goal scoring. He's the fourth highest goal scorer in the Premier League, 15, only behind Aguero, Kane, and Salah. So it shows how much he's improved that final part of his game, which has always been a question about him, his final ball. So it's good to see him. Well, good for English people in Man City from seeing him do that this season. So he'd be my pick because I think he's enjoyable to watch as well with his pace. So that's what I've gone with.
My choice would be Sanchez because I think Sanchez would certainly be up there with Raheem Sterling in terms of goals scored if he was in a better team. Sorry, Arsenal fans again. Arsenal this season haven't been good enough, and he has basically had to carry everyone on his shoulders. Man United, he is now more of a a better part of a unit. He hasn't clicked perfectly yet, but he will. And he'll prove to be a top signing for them. If he was at Man City under Pep Guardiola with that team, I think he'd score goals upon goals upon goals. I like Sanchez because I think he's more multifaceted than Sterling is. He's more physical, stronger. I think Raheem Sterling has the pace, but I think Sanchez has the ability on the ball. I think he offers more. And like I said, I think Sterling, yes, if you're looking statistically, more goals, better option. I think if you're looking from an analytical point, Sanchez adds more than Sterling does.
This season, I think Sterling's better. Plus, it doesn't help he played for Liverpool. That's why you don't really want to put him in.
Yeah, well, I mean, he'd certainly be playing every game at the World Cup. So my dislike for Liverpool players has a limit.
But we both agreed on the manager as well.
Pep Guardiola,
no question. Yeah. On to the South.
The managers are fairly similar both times. So with the South, obviously, it's a little bit more difficult, I think. There's the options are a little bit wider. We've agreed all across the pitch.
We've agreed with the goalkeeper and 3 out of the 4 defenders.
Which surprises me because I thought at least one of us would have gone for Thibaut Courtois.
I think he's had an awful season. Chelsea fans think he hasn't been as good.
We've both picked Hugo Lloris, who for me is one of the best keepers out there. I've told you this for a long time. I always rate Lloris.
I like Hugo Lloris. But we've both got Kieran Trippier right back, who I think is an exceptional young English right back. I think he's better than Kyle Walker for me. But obviously a lot of people might disagree.
I did. Maybe not this season. This season I think Kyle Walker's earned that number 1 spot back. But certainly last season he was the better option for Tottenham.
Exceptional. We both got for Alonso left back.
Best left back of the league this season.
By a mile.
I know he's left wing back, but it's the same thing.
Centre backs then, we both agreed on Azpilicueta, Mr. Consistency.
Completely underrated.
Yeah. Yep. And then the difference in the other centre back pairing, similar to the North, we disagreed.
Who did you go for again?
I have gone with. Well, I've gone for a bit of an outsider here. People might question me and have a go at me.
What did you go with?
But Alfie Mawson. Yeah. Alfie Mawson's one that I think deserves a spot. He's been consistent for Swansea when they've struggled. Even when they struggled, he was good. And obviously since Carvajal took over, he played well in a few games. Then sadly got injured in the warm up. I think in Sheffield Wednesday for not the replay of the first game. So it's a shame for him because I think he's had an exceptional season. I think he's been linked with £25 million move to the clubs like West Ham. I think we're linked with him. And then, but the other one I was unsure with between Mawson and then Andreas Christiansen, who's had a really good season for Chelsea since he came in and took over from Gary Cahill. Disappointingly for him, he made the mistake for the Barcelona goal in the Champions League. But other than that, I think he's been exceptional too. So I wouldn't mind either of those playing. But I think Alfie Mawson's had a really good season and been underrated.
Yeah, no, I agree.
You've gone a bit more.
He has been good out of the season, but
you've gone a bit more mainstream.
I think he's been good. Davinson Sanchez for Tottenham. He's really come on leaps and bounds this season. Obviously, really young still. For Ajax, he was. I hadn't really heard much about him, but he's come on and he really has done a good job. Considering, obviously, I don't know about you, but my preferred choices would have been both Jan Vertonghen and Toby Alderweireld, but they both struggled with injuries this season. So Sanchez hasn't had a consistent teammate to work with. It's been changing a lot, and I think he's done quite well to manage that.
I think we've both agreed that Toby Alderweireld is probably the best centre-back in the league, yeah. But sadly, he's been injured a lot this season, and it's difficult to put him in an all-star team when you haven't played much. I know I did with Bailey in the North, but I just feel he's too good to leave out from the other options there, whereas there is other options in the South, which you can leave someone like Alderweireld out. And
well, we've actually gone exactly the same.
Yeah,
for the rest of it. So you've got a different formation. For me, my 3 in midfield are Moussa Dembele, who was the most underrated midfielder in the Premier League. Although it does seem in recent weeks it's becoming
since the Juventus game, really.
In recent weeks, it's becoming mainstream to say he's underrated because everyone's now beginning to realise how good he is. But he has been underrated for a long time. And obviously N'Golo Kante, who might not have had as good a season this season as he did last.
He's still been better than everyone else.
I think that's only because he set such a high standard that when he doesn't hit that high, you think he's been disappointing, but really if he's only just a little bit below and everyone else is here,
he's still better.
He's still fantastic. And then I would finish off the midfield 3 with Christian Eriksen, who is, I think, one of the most one of the most underappreciated players in the Premier League, because I think Dele Alli gets a lot of plaudits. Obviously, Harry Kane gets the plaudits, but Eriksen does so much for Tottenham. He's unbelievable. So for me, that was easy, that choice. And you've gone similar.
I've gone for a similar thing, but a different formation. I've gone for 4-2-3-1. So my 2 is Dembele and Kante. And then in 3, I've gone for Eden Hazard on the left, Christian Eriksen in the 10 role, and then Heung-min Son on the right. I think he's also one of the most...
I've gone with the wing choices as well.
I think Son is one of the most underappreciated players, as you said, with Eriksen. I think Son's up
Again,
there too.
Doesn't get the credit he's due.
And I think he's an exceptional talent, exceptional player from...
And Hazard's just... Hazard.
Yeah, there's not much to say.
There's certain players, when you see them in the team, the likes of De Bruyne, you're like, well, you don't need to explain why he's there. Same with Hazard, and same with the man up front, Harry Kane.
Yeah, you don't have to say much, but he's our choice up front.
Yeah, world class, top goal scorer.
Nothing else to add. Manager.
Automatic star of the World Cup. Yeah.
Manager, Mauricio Pochettino.
Yeah, I think Mauricio Pochettino is one of the most talented managers going. I think he's the best. I think he is the most talented manager in the Premier League. I genuinely do, over Guardiola. I think Guardiola. I'm not going to knock Guardiola because people before in the past have said, we've only ever had good teams and that. Really, yes. And he has had. You always had a lot of money in that, and he has. But he does change the team around. Proof is in the pudding. Last season, Man City were nothing compared to what they are now, and there haven't been a great deal of wholesale change. But I think if Pochettino had the reins at one of those kind of clubs, he would blow everyone out the water. I really rate him as a manager, so he'd be my choice. Yeah.
Well, that's the end of it.
Certainly wouldn't be Wenger.
It's a long football talk, but we haven't had a proper football discussion recently, especially the one that's out this week. We didn't really talk much about football, so
no.
It's nice
to brush over these two.
Yeah, we have a nice sporting chat. Well, I want to mention the boxing. Kell Brook's making his return this weekend against Sergey Rabchenko. What do you think about it? I think if he wins, he might get a shot at Amir Khan next, the fight everyone's been asking for years. But if he loses, after coming off back-to-back losses, and this will be his 3rd in a row, he might have to retire. Obviously, I know he lost to 2 world-class athletes in Gennady Golovkin.
Who was the second one?
Errol Spence Jr., who was also unbeaten and beaten some high-quality fighters on his record as well. So I think Kell Brook is all out or bust this weekend, I think.
I don't know. I don't think it's bust. Like you said, the fighters he's fought, understandably, are tough, especially Gennady Golovkin. The only reason he lost that was because his team threw the towel in.
And he'd done his eye socket.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The team threw the towel in because Golovkin broke his eye socket. But it's not as if he was absolutely annihilated. I mean, he was battered around by Golovkin, but he did hold his own. He certainly didn't do himself.
He was in the fight.
Any injustice.
I think it was close on the cards.
Yeah,
he might be winning on the cards.
He did himself justice in the fight, and then I didn't see the Errol Spencer fight, but I quite like him as a boxer. I like
Kell Brook. I'm a massive fan of Kell Brook.
I don't like Amir Khan, and I will say most of that has been shaped by I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, not his actual sporting exploits. I'm a big fan of that show. It's the only kind of reality show I watch, and I didn't like him on that. I thought he was a bit of an arrogant bloke. So,
but I think Kell Brook's quite said, and he could retire if he does lose. But
it'd be a shame.
It would be a shame. I don't see him losing.
I'd like to see Brook against Khan.
It's been coming for years. They both wanted the fight. Amir Khan seems to be the one running all the time, though. Kell Brook's always seemed to want it. But Amir Khan's glass chin, I don't think can run much longer because he hasn't got many options out there. Amir
Khan does seem to dodge an awful lot of fights. It's getting to the point where he's going to start affecting his credibility seriously if he can't agree to
I think
make a matchup.
I think Kell Brook will win this weekend against Sergey Rabchenko, and I also think that he will fight Amir Khan for both of them in the career, and I got a feeling that Kell Brook will come out victorious in that fight.
Yeah, definitely.
Final topic you want to talk about, Formula 1.
Formula 1, yeah.
The pre-season testing has started this week. I think it's on the 3rd day today.
There's not an awful lot to talk about, but we just thought a little bit of our predictions. Looking forward to the season and whatnot.
First day, Red Bull led the way. I think it was Daniel Ricciardo was the fastest. Second day then yesterday, Ferrari got to the front. They're in front of Mercedes. Sebastian Vettel. It was 0.03 seconds quicker than Valtteri Bottas and Mercedes.
Yeah, I think you said that Lewis Hamilton as well did not get in the car. They kept Valtteri Bottas. They
decided to keep Valtteri Bottas running that yesterday. I'm guessing Hamilton will have a go today. Obviously, we don't know what's happening today yet. We haven't been able to see it, but so far looks like Ferrari are coming. It could be an interesting season this year. I don't think it's going to be.
I'm looking forward to it.
I got a feeling Red Bull could be a bit more competitive than they were as well.
Is there anyone in particular you're looking forward to seeing this season in particular? Because obviously you have the likes of Vettel, who is going to be up there. Hamilton's going to be up there. Is there anyone who
Well, Williams got the youngest drivers on the youngest joint drivers on the grid. They got Lance Stroll,
yeah, 21, 22.
Yeah, she was there last year, and they've also got Sirotkin, new driver coming in, and they've also got Robert Kubica, who's after an accident.
Is he back in the team? Is he?
He's a reserve test driver. So he's hoping to maybe get a seat next season.
I'd like to see that. That'd be nice.
The worry is Kubica did drive yesterday, I think, and he was quicker than Sirotkin. So Sirotkin got the seat ahead of Kubica, but Kubica was quicker. Right. So that's an interesting thing. I mean,
back in the day when it was Vitaly Petrov and Kubica together, he was a good driver. It was only obviously the disaster he had when he moved away from Formula One that's prevented him from making a return earlier. So hopefully he will.
It looks like he could make a return. I think they're going to see how Sirotkin goes, and if Sirotkin can impress, then obviously he'll keep his seat. But if he does disappoint, then they have got Kubica there to come in and take his place. Because I used to be a massive fan of Robert Kubica. I think he's one of the most underrated drivers there was on the grid. He always got the best out of his car, whatever the situation, and I would love to see him back in a Formula 1 car.
Kimi Räikkönen's back as well, isn't he? He's still with Ferrari.
Yeah, he's still Ferrari.
I'm looking forward to see how he does this season, because I'm a big fan of Kimi Räikkönen, and I think
he was disappointing
last season he had so much bad luck with the car. It was ridiculous. And as a former world champion, it would be interesting to see what you can do if he's actually in a car that works properly. I really like it. The other one I'm looking forward to seeing is Bottas himself, because I think he showed an awful lot of promise last season. At times, gave Hamilton a run for his money.
Especially
not quite as much as Nico Rosberg did, but he looked impressive. And there wasn't this great big rivalry between him and Hamilton that there was between Hamilton and Rosberg. So I'm interested to see how he develops as a driver this season. Obviously, he's quite young, I think, as well.
Yeah,
or at least he's fresh as a Formula 1 driver. So it'll be interesting to see what he does.
Completely agree with you. But as I said, the Williams drivers will be interesting to watch out for, especially Kubica as reserve driver. And then I think it's going to be a much closer season this year between a lot of drivers. Ferrari, Red Bull, Mercedes will all be up there.
What's happening with Fernando Alonso?
He's McLaren. Well, that's another interesting point. McLaren's going to be interesting this season because they can't really get much worse. So
yeah, sure. Because I'm surprised that Alonso didn't pack it in after last season. It was a frustrating year for him.
He's confident McLaren can't play around. Obviously, they're not with Honda anymore. They've gone with Renault, I think, now. Mm-hmm. So I think he's excited by that opportunity. He's allowed to obviously go off and do his long races, like the Le Mans race and stuff like that. So he can go off and do those.
What did he do? Was it the Indy 500?
Yeah, he can go off and do that this year as well again. So I think the contract situation he sorted out with McLaren, he could stay and still do the other things. But I'm excited to see what they can do this season as well. I think they got to be more competitive.
The other one I'll mention as well, Daniel Ricciardo, because I like him.
Yeah, Red Bull. Like I said, Red Bull will be up there.
Again,
easy.
Good young talent.
I think, like I said,
seems like a nice bloke. I like to see how he does as well.
Vettel, Bottas, Hamilton will all be up there. Maybe even Raikkonen and the other Red Bull. I think they'll all be up there competing as usual. But I think it might be a bit closer than it has been in the last couple of years. Obviously, be interesting to see. And then out of the smaller teams, hopefully McLaren can become a big powerhouse like they used to be.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. Yeah.
That'd be interesting to see if they can actually improve. Like I said, they can't get much worse. So I hope they do get better this season, especially for Alonso's sake. And
oh yeah, definitely,
yeah. And then obviously looking at the other teams, Williams, like I said, really exciting, and then Force India, and again, exciting team. It'd be interesting. I think it's going to be a really competitive season, and I look forward to it.
Force India last year had nutters driving their cars.
Yeah, so
I can't remember their names. One of them is with an O.
They both quite young.
Perez.
Yeah, Sergey Perez. He was at McLaren for 1 year. Ocon. Sebastian Ocon. I'm a big fan of Sebastian Ocon. Yeah, they
were both interesting drivers in the sense that they really do give their all.
When they didn't crash, they always did get points.
When they didn't crash, yeah, that's the problem.
But they always did get points. Yeah. They are good drivers.
I look forward to seeing them
if they can just come in a little bit, then I think they can show what they got.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a really competitive, really exciting season this year.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
that's all it is anyway this week, isn't it?
Yeah, I hope everyone back home enjoyed.
I can't remember when we started. I think it's a long one.
I hope you still enjoy it anyway.
Hope you enjoyed it.
If you agree or disagree with our South and North teams for the Premier League,
please do let us know.
And let us know your teams as well, either in the comment section down below or on Twitter.
Comments or our social medias are in the description, so go on there, tweet us, let us know what you think.
And let us know what you think about Kell Brook. Should he retire if he loses? Should he have Amir Khan next if he wins? And
let us know about the managers, who you think.
And also with the Formula 1 pre-season.
Anything really. Any thoughts you got?
Anything we talked about, just let us know.
Any thoughts you got, let us know.
But that's all for this week. All our links are in the description. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you next week.